There
Also,
we go.
I really like
Is there
how
a
the
sexy
character
twist-
or the
is there a
writer
sexy
writes
twist-
these
twist effect?
characters. They're all
Yeah,
like
yeah.
super good.
That's why I said it was really great when I
They-
read it. I was like,
These are really in character. I love it.
All right.
Sucks to suck. Pidge said airily.
Sucks to suck.
Pidge said airily. It's just like it's perfect. Where's
I'm
this
sorry,
from
I
in
was
my life?
actually
Ready?
laughing.
Witness this. Witness me.
Witness me.
All right.
I think my favorite chapter is probably Cards Against Humanity, though.
Oh, they do Cards
Against
I did not know they did that.
Oh, it's pretty good.
They don't
But yeah,
actually
alright,
do
ready
Cards
for
Against
Twister?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
Yes,
Right.
I'm
Alright.
ready. You need a moment?
Chapter 2, Twister.
Am I in this one?
I have no
You are, yeah, you are.
Staff.
Trust me, you are.
Don't worry, I'll
Allura
ping
can
you.
always win this because Allura always wins Twister because she has shape-shifting powers.
Well, so does Koran.
That's true. I want to
never thought
I want to
about
see Karan
shape-shifting Karan.
shapeshift. I want to see Karan do the shapeshift.
Anyways,
Alright, it starts
focusing.
with Hunk.
No, I think it starts with Lance because it says
Yeah.
could
So
hear
it's
Lance
Lance.
shouting.
Oh wait, yeah.
Okay, never mind then.
I saw Dios mío, and I was like, oh no,
Okay,
I gotta
yeah.
say that. I said it right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Dios mío.
Chapter 2. Twister.
Oh my god, oh Dios mío, guys!
Hunk, Keith, and Shiro could hear Lance shouting from all the way down the hall. The spaceship could get kind of cramped some days. It was hard talking to the same 7 people all the time, and everyone pretty much knew everything about everyone. For instance, everyone knew that when Lance sounded that excited, then it was time to consider knocking him out so that everyone else could get some peace.
Lance, give it back. I'm not finished with that yet.
That was Pidge, sounding irritated.
Hoo boy. Good luck, Shiro.
Hunk said, picking his book back up.
Thanks, Hunk.
Shiro said sarcastically, getting up in preparation to separate an out-for-blood Pidge and an overly excited Cuban when the door to the den burst open and Lance streaked through, some kind of polka-dotted cape streaming out behind him.
Guys!
Lance whipped off his cape and displayed it for them all to see, making it suddenly obvious that he'd been wearing a twister mat as a cape.
Pidge, you didn't.
Hunk called, bursting into laughter as she appeared, glowering.
It was supposed to be a surprise, Lance.
She said, elbowing him hard in the ribs, snatching the mat back.
The spinner isn't done yet anyway, so we can't play. Sure we can. I built a randomizer a few days ago when I was bored.
Hunk said, setting down his book, still chuckling.
You can program it to pick a random color and body part in like 30 seconds. It is you, after all.
What is all the rackets in here?
Allura appeared, raising an eyebrow at the colored mat Lance snatched back from Pidge, holding it as if it was a priceless object.
Paige has recreated another Earth on Mars. It won't be as vicious as Uno was, I hope.
Shiro explained as Hunk ran off to get his randomizer. After the first round of Uno that ended in belligerent shouting and screaming, Allura had confiscated the game until Pidge taught her and Karan how to play. After that, all 7 of them had played at once, which led to a full 2 days where Karan wouldn't speak to anyone, Allura breaking a catch in half, Keith giving Lance a black eye, and more angry yelling. However, once everyone had gotten over their grudges, they couldn't deny that they felt calmer and happier. The miracle of Uno was that once you were done wishing the most horrible death upon the other players, it was actually quite a lot of fun.
No cards this time. How is it played? What is it called?
Allura asked, watching Lance spread the mat out on the floor.
It's called Twister. A spinner or randomizer tells you a hand or foot and on what color. The last person who is still in position without falling wins.
Shiro explained, watching Keith look completely unimpressed as Lance begged him to play.
It's just a little less competitive.
Well, the last game Pidge made, after an adjustment period, strengthened this team. I will play.
Allura declared as Hunk came back, randomizer in hand. Pidge pulled out some kind of gizmo gadget and typed for a few seconds.
Left hand, red.
The randomizer said in a flat monotone.
Pidge, you rock.
Hunk said, slapping her on the shoulder and nearly sending her face planting into the edge of the couch.
Gee, thanks.
Pidge said, adjusting her glasses, but she was grinning.
I'll sit out the first round to work out the randomizer. Keith, you play?
He's playing.
Lance butted in.
Or I'm putting the gladiator in the airlock and setting it into space.
Fine.
Keith growled, shucking off his jacket. He stalked over to the mat, completely missing the flush that spread over Lance's cheeks from watching his fellow paladin take off his clothes.
Be a little less obvious there, Kimano.
Pidge snickered, and Lance glared at her, shedding his own jacket and heading over to the mat.
You're playing too, Allura? Great.
Hunk exclaimed as Allura joined them.
Shiro, are you?
I'll play.
Shiro agreed. With all of the players assembled, Pidge settled down to watch the shit show that was sure to unfold. Trying not to grin too evilly, clearing her throat, she started the randomizer.
Left foot, blue. Right hand, yellow.
This seems simple.
Allura said as they all slowly competed for space.
Left hand, red.
Uh-oh.
Hunk wobbled, slowly reaching with his right hand, barely making it to a red dot. His balance was usually pretty good, but he was a big, burly guy with not a lot of space to move.
Hunk, if you take me down, I swear to God.
Lance warned.
Left foot, green.
There was much shuffling and complaining. Keith showed a half-impressive, half-frightening amount of flexibility, easily stretching into position. Hunk coughed and nudged Lance, who had frozen, staring at his teammate's ass, scowling, face burning hot. Lance slowly managed to move his foot.
Left foot, red.
You've got to be kidding me.
Lance whined, and then he choked on his own spit when Keith easily split across the whole mat, holding himself up effortlessly.
Can't keep up.
Keith asked innocently, unable to see Lance's flushing face.
I can keep up.
Lance flared up defensively, whimpering a little as he forced his leg over. The only free dot within reach meant that he had to move his leg over and around over Keith's to get there.
Don't rest on me. That's cheating.
I'm
Keith
not cheating.
snapped.
You're cheating.
Someone's
Really into the
excited.
Lance mood, aren't you? Also,
Speaking of
since we're stopped
cheating.
for a second, someone's like brushing up
That's
against
probably
my mic.
prone.
Prone, can you be a little more careful with that, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm suddenly really tired because we had that whole 2 hours beforehand.
You're in Hawaii. You're later than all of us.
It's only 8 o'clock.
Okay, you have no reason to complain.
I know.
Yeah. Speaking of cheating.
Paige said loudly, breaking up the impending argument as Hunk cursed and fell over, nearly taking out Shiro.
Allura, you can't modify your body to reach the dots.
Why not?
Allura asked, completely not understanding.
Because on Earth, where the game was made, no one can make themselves taller or make their limbs longer. The point is, you have to stretch.
Pidge said, smiling wickedly when Allura shrugged and complied, reaching through Shiro's legs to play fairly. She was almost positive that she saw Shiro gulp, but she couldn't be sure.
You are truly diabolical. Seriously, remind me to never mess with you.
Hunk chuckled quietly, sitting next to her on the floor and grinning when the randomizer called another ridiculous move. Keith ended up with his head nearly in Shiro's crotch. Lance was balancing precariously, tangled with both Allura and Keith.
I do what I can.
Pidge said with a shrug, hitting the randomizer again.
Right elbow, green.
Pidge.
Shiro said disapprovingly.
You can't modify the rules like that.
It's not possible.
Keith pointed out, contorting to place his elbow in the right spot. It brought his head closer to Shiro's crotch. Allura ended up pressed into Shiro's back. Lance cursed in Spanish repeatedly, straining, but managed to reach it, wound around Keith's legs.
Call the next one for the love of God.
Lance puffed.
Oh, look. It's frozen.
Pidge said in a monotone, messing with Lance.
Pidge!
Alright. Calm down, Lancelot.
Left foot, blue.
Madre de Dios, Lance huffed, squirming and nearly face-planting on the mat when Allura moved into position.
Keith.
Shiro said, trying to sound as professional as possible as Keith moved, his chin resting on Shiro's upper thigh.
What? It's left foot, blue. Move.
Keith said, missing the reason for Shiro's discomfort.
I bet you desert for a week that someone gets hit in the bits.
Hunk said in an undertone as Pidge hit the randomizer.
Oh, come on. That's definitely gonna happen.
Pidge snorted.
Left knee, yellow.
Pidge, you are a monster.
Lance declared, barely managing it, gulping a bit when Keith's butt got very, very close to his face.
Oof.
Shiro's robotic hand slid on the material of the mat, making him fall. Allura calmly did a handstand to avoid him, and then put her feet elbow and knee back into position once he'd gotten up.
This is a very fun game. It's like a warm-up for sparring.
Allura said brightly.
I commend you, Pidge.
Thank you.
Pidge said smugly, hitting the randomizer.
Right hand, blue.
Keith, get
Susnaglas,
out of my face.
Lance spluttered, as Keith's ass practically brushed Lance's cheek. Lance was blushing furiously, desperately trying not to move.
Keith, I will do your chores for 2 weeks if you fart right now.
Hunk said immediately.
Hunk.
Shiro said disapprovingly, trying not to laugh. Cállate, Diablo, Lance yelled, glaring menacingly at Hunk, who was sniggering.
I can't fart on command. Sorry.
Keith said.
Why?
He glanced over his shoulder and blinked when he realized how close his ass was to Lance's face. A second later, he flushed the same color as his lion, hastily facing the other way again.
Right hand, green. Well, it sure looks like fun.
Kuran said, coming in watching Allura stretch effortlessly to manage the next call. Lance audibly gulped as Keith's ass moved away. The trade-off was that he had to reach through Allura's legs, putting his crotch even with Keith's face.
It's called Twister. It's another Earth game Pidge recreated for us.
Shiro explained.
Have there been any fights yet?
Kuran asked immediately, grinning.
Not yet.
Shiro said, wincing in anticipation of a fight breaking out to contradict him. The universe loved proving him wrong most days.
I'd say Uno is a fighting kind of game. Twister has more tension.
Hunk said, grinning as Lance and Keith caught each other's eyes and flushed furiously.
Pidge, hurry up and call the next one already.
Keith called, sounding mildly uncomfortable.
The way I see it, if you can't trust your fellow comrades not to fall right into your crotch, you can't trust them in battle.
Pidge told Kuran, shrugging, ignoring Keith completely.
Just like a pack of Yelmers.
Kuran said, catching on.
That little brain of yours is dangerous.
Pidge.
Ayúdame. Lance sounded slightly strangled and was determinedly not looking at anyone.
Yeah, it's a trust exercise.
Pidge said, grinning at Kuran.
Plus, like Allura said, it's kind of like a warm-up. Gets you good and flexible, you know?
You sure do have your innovations. To think we have you listed as primitive in our databases.
Kuran said, fluffing Pidge's hair fondly.
Pidge, please call the next move.
Allura said calmly, watching Lance and Keith's foot nervously tangled up in each other and pointedly trying not to burn red with embarrassment.
Oh, right.
Pidge said, hitting the randomizer.
Left foot, red.
Madre de Dios, Lance whined, slowly moving into position, limbs shaking. He gulped when Keith then slid into position, his ass very, very close to Lance's crotch. Dangerously close.
Hey guys, have you ever noticed how ugly?
Olympians?
Lance hastily thought of the most grotesque alien species he could think of, willing that his body would behave. If his body betrayed him, he would throw himself into an airlock. He would never live it down. He'd call up the Gauler and ask for a quick death, because he'd be damned if he let Keith know that.
Lance, that's not very nice.
Allura chided, glancing at him over her shoulder. A few wisps of hair were coming free from her styled hair, and the sight of them curled against the back of her neck was oddly enticing. Combined with her muscles in Keith's proximity, he was sweating bullets.
As paladins of Voltron, you need to be sensitive to all species of life.
Sorry.
Lance muttered when Shiro nodded his agreement.
You look kinda nervous, Lance.
Pidge said slyly.
Why is that?
You afraid of losing?
Keith asked confidently, not at all understanding Pidge's line of questioning.
No.
Lance denied hastily.
I'll kick your ass, I'll kick Allura's ass, I'll kick my own ass.
He burned hot, flushing as Pidge sniggered, hitting the randomizer.
Right hand, yellow. Left hand, yellow. Left elbow, yellow.
I like this vibe.
Hunk said, grinning. As the paladins jockeyed for space, Lance, out of all of the moves, fell on the easiest one, nearly clipping his chin on the mat.
Hasta la later, Lance.
Keith said, and Lance made strangling motions in midair, growling as he slunk off the mat.
I'm impressed with your flexibility, Keith.
Allura said, as the two remaining players got ready for the long haul.
But perhaps you should quit while you're ahead.
I never quit.
Keith said seriously.
Right hand, red. Left hand, yellow.
That one is already there. Spin again.
Hunk said.
Although yellow is the superior color.
Left foot, red.
Lance let out a kind of strangled noise when Keith managed to lift his leg around his head and place it in the right spot. He could see his muscles shaking a bit to hold it, but he was keeping up with Allura, who was also disgustingly flexible. The game would come down to strength, not twistability.
Lance, are you alright?
Shiro asked, mistaking the strangled noise for something else, like choking.
Stop choking on your own spit, dude. You lost. You just have to accept that.
Hunk saved Lance from embarrassment, smacking him on the back a few times.
Yeah, whatever.
Lance muttered, folding his arms and willing his face to stop flushing.
Left knee, green.
Impossible.
Pidge muttered, hitting the randomizer again.
Right elbow, blue. Ow.
Keith hissed, moving to the right spot, his left elbow quaking dangerously. His left foot nearly slipped off the mat, but he wavered and caught his balance again.
Don't hurt yourself, Keith. Winning isn't worth putting yourself in a regeneration pod.
Shiro said wisely.
Call the next one.
Keith demanded, not willing to give up.
Right foot, red.
There was an audible sigh of relief from Keith as he untangled himself gingerly, holding an easier position. Seconds later, he was on the mat, groaning as Allura had slipped on the slippery surface and kneed Keith directly in the bits.
I truly am sorry, Keith.
Allura apologized, moving out of the proper position.
I told you what would happen.
Pidge told Hunk, trying not to laugh.
Fine.
Keith got up gingerly, winded, trying not to hold his crotch. He told himself to walk it off, but he only made it to the couch before sinking down into it, grimacing.
Well, I guess that makes Allura the victor.
Curran said brightly.
Yeah, by assassinating Keith's balls.
Lance said, wincing in sympathy.
I guess you won't be having kids, Keith. I wouldn't want to give someone the genetics for that mullet anyway.
Shut up, Lance.
Keith gritted out.
You could help him to the infirmary to take care of it.
Hunk suggested, and both Lance and Keith flushed as red as the dots on the twister mat.
I'm fine.
Like I would ever.
Anyway,
Shiro said pointedly, cutting off indignant spluttering.
would anyone like to play again? Pitch?
I'm good on the randomizer, thank you.
She denied, smiling.
Last time I played Twister, Matt broke my glasses clean in half, so then I broke his nose. Atta girl.
Hunk said proudly, getting up and stretching.
I'll try to last a little longer. Corinne, did you want to try?
I'll give it a go, sure. Allura, Lance, Keith, ready to be annihilated by your favorite Altean?
Curran asked, wiggling his eyebrows.
I will sit this one out, thank you. I'm already a victor.
Allura said primly, sitting on the couch next to Pidge.
I'm good.
Keith said, voice still tight.
I'll play.
Lance said, seeing a chance to win. If both Keith and Allura were out, that meant he had a much, much better chance at coming out on top. The two best and the two most distracting people were gone, although the way Shiro's arms flexed when he,
Left foot, yellow.
Pidge started the game, cutting off his thoughts. Twister ended up almost the complete opposite way that Uno had. The sweaty, exhausted, and slightly frustrated in more ways than one paladins had tired themselves out. Keith limped off to his room, Hunk headed for the kitchen to start dinner with Curran, Allura headed back to the control room with Shiro, and Paige packed up the game as Lance and Hunk flopped back onto the couches.
You are not allowed to make another Earth game again.
Lance declared, throwing an arm over his eyes.
Why not? Keith was staring at your ass for like half of that game.
Paige said plainly, and Lance let out a squeak kind of noise, jerking upright.
It was kind of gross to watch, to be honest.
Hunk agreed.
You guys really need to just...
He made gesturing motions with his hands, urging them on, and Lance bolted to his feet.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Lance barked, hastily leaving the room.
So, you're definitely making another one, right?
Hunk asked after a moment of silence.
Oh, most definitely.
Pidge said, grinning diabolically.
I can't believe how gay Keith is.
I'm so sorry, guys.
Well, you're
Kick
not
your
wrong.
ass. I'll kick Allura's ass. I'll kick my own ass.
And then he goes,
Guys,
wait.
I had to mute myself so much.
Oh, man, that was amazing. Thank you for blessing me on this day.
Lance could kick my
See?
ass whenever he
Yeah.
Same, but for
Also,
Keith.
I really love your voice, Bear. Just, you make the
Aw.
perfect pitch. You really do.
You really do.
Really, really.
Oh.
And also, who's playing Hunk? I love you so much.
Oh, thank you.
It's
It's
Shiba.
so innocent. It's
Shiba.
adorable.
Shiva, your Hunk is wonderful. I could listen to it endlessly.
I failed my duty as Allura tonight.
Don't worry.
Yeah, you're
I
fine as Allura.
I would rather have someone be late than jump the gun, aka me.
What?
Don't worry. I
Well,
know
you
everybody's
do
doing
both
different
Lance
things.
and
Who's
Keith
also
always jump
who's
the gun.
clicking around, by the way? Is it Madrone or is it Prone?
Prone.
It's me.
What?
Okay.
It's
Prone being
me.
the cause of all
Oh, it's
sounds.
me. There's
Yeah.
there's Warframe happening in the background.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, never mind. Because I was gonna say, oh, just mute easily, and I'm like, no, switching between Warframe and the screen is gonna be tricky.
I'm trying to re-level my Zephyr because I put a Forma on it.
Oh.
Never touched it again.
Does
just-
we
I-
need break? Does we need break?
Do you guys
I'm
want to
gonna
have a break?
to tap out for tonight.
Okay.
Aw.
Hey,
Well,
is
thanks for
Flub
joining,
gonna
man.
jump in? I
Yeah,
see Flub there.
I mean somebody else can take Allura.
I think there's no more Allura in this chapter.
We should get them just in case because Quran happened, and boy,
Yeah.
did it happen.
Yeah.
A lot.
Also, miscellaneous voice should probably be one because robot
Yeah.
I'm doing miscellaneous work.
left hand pink.
They're doing Connect 4, so
Yeah, no, Allura's not in here.
Yeah.
There you go, Shady, to update your list.
Shady.
Will the real Slim Shady please step forward? What?
Well, the real
Okay.
Pip Put please step forward.
well, the real Sim Putt Putt, please drive
one that
off
saved the
a
zoo.
cliff and save everyone the misery of listening. Oh
Oh,
my
Prone, you
god.
make a nice Allura. Don't worry about being late. Completely
Okay.
fine. Completely fine. Don't worry.
I was-
Enjoy Warframe.
I was
I'm just like running Earth missions over and over again because I want to get some of the Silver Grove or mods.
Mm.
So I gotta
Wait,
farm them.
Did you ever
plants.
get that hammer stance?
I never did. I don't have a hammer stance and I still don't have a sword and shield stance either.
Let
Which
me
means
check
my
if I
Silva
have
and Aegis
something.
and my Fragor are a little underwhelming.
I got a
Oh.
question. Waifu?
Yes.
Did you get that one fic? The bakery one? The
Yeah,
bakery AU?
I'm still editing through chapter 10, the
Ah.
continuation.
I
Because
just
there is
forgot if you got that.
Yes.
Yeah, I got it.
Hi, Flo.
Club!
Chapter
Oh,
10 has a lot of narration and not a lot of the text messages, because the text messages are
Mm.
faster to edit through than the dialogue.
Really?
Yeah,
If you can believe it.
yeah, if
I
you can believe it.
Okay.
Because, like, for the dialogue, I gotta go and search for whenever somebody speaks, and then make it the right color.
Mm.
Because, believe it or not, I have made some mistakes where I made things the wrong color. Because I was like, oh, it's probably this person again, and it wasn't.
Hey Flub, you wanna
Aww.
help poor Timber out?
Please.
With what?
So many people.
All the
Allura's
bushes.
dead. Quran's here. There's a robot. I don't know what's going on.
That sounds like
If you
something
wanna.
Lance would say.
We don't have any robot stuff afterwards, I think.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
God.
That was just a random spur of the added two characters.
Nah, I'm good. I don't really wanna.
That's alright.
Okay.
It's okay.
Are you
Thank you
losing
for
your
coming
fervor
by.
for plants?
Bye bye.
Have a good night.
I love you.
Bye.
We love
I
you,
wanna-
Flub.
I love you, girl.
I love you.
Just like do
I
not
love
let
the
your
code.
resolve for clans waver.
Heart.
Do not.
Heart, fart. Yeah,
Remain
okay.
strong.
Anyway.
It's just
I'm a little sad they didn't have Mancala, though. Mancala can pretty much do a lot, too.
oh lordy,
Yeah.
Mancala is fun.
Do you think
good.
we could convince the author to add more games?
it's completed
It's
for
8 out of
now.
8,
I
though.
know. I know.
It's okay. We can make our own game fic one day in some future.
You're right. Wait.
Oh, I still
I just
gotta
noticed
go.
this fic has 22,227 words.
Oh boy.
I'm a little disappointed. Just a little bit.
2,000? I don't think so.
It's
Really?
22,000.
22,000.
Okay,
There's a lot of
because I'm
twos.
like 200. I'm like, I've read a 200 fic. It's not that. It's not that short.
But like, it's 222227.